Today's topic is in regards to a YouTuber by the name of MisAnthropony. If you are familiar with him, it is either because of his reviews of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, both collabs and non-collabs, and his prominence in the Pony community, or by his vehement hatred for Doug Nostalgia Critic Walker and his using of the recent Change the Channel movement as all the more justification for his desire to see Channel Awesome, or more specifically Nostalgia Critic, fall. Well, fall further than they already have. Quick rundown of MisAnthropony's Nostalgia Critic commentaries. First there was the commentary on the Norm of the North review about 2 years ago, then the Everything Wrong with the Jungle Book 2016 review and Deadpool 2 reviews from last year, then almost a year later on the Teen Titans vs. Teen Titans Go, that is currently unavailable on YouTube at least at the time I'm recording this, and most recently his commentary on the Sailor Moon review that he did in light of Cinematic Venom's Change the Channel commentary. Now, I admit to liking and even leaving a comment or two on a few of these videos. If MisAnthropony wants to debunk the things that Doug has said and call him out for failing to critique a movie fairly and emphasize that the excuse for a Nostalgia Critic show being a comedy that shouldn't be taken too seriously doesn't work, I'm cool with that. However, as of late, I found MisAnthropony crossing a line that absolutely no one should ever cross when trying to refute a public figure that he or she hates. What I'm talking about is that recently, one of my friends on DeviantArt, specifically called YodaJax10, who still likes Nostalgia Critic even after the Change the Channel stuff, said that he talked to MisAnthropony and said that it is possible to like Nostalgia Critic and still be a good person. To which MisAnthropony responded with this. I'd explain to them why they should stop watching his content. Yes, MisAnthropony has resorted to personally attacking and insulting people who genuinely enjoy watching Nostalgia Critic. I mean, Cinematic Venom said in his videos that he believes that Channel Awesome does not deserve the audience that they culminated, but he was never out to shame those who still watch them. The most he did was refute some poorly crafted defenses from certain Channel Awesome apologists, and yes, I do believe that word is appropriate to use for this instance. Now, before anyone goes out and says that MisAnthropony is not attacking anybody, just explaining why somebody shouldn't watch Doug, he said this on Twitter. Person whose identity I'll respectfully try to keep anonymous says, I watched the latest Nostalgia Critic episode from Channel Awesome, and let's just say the ending caught me off guard. I've never cried during an episode before, but I did at that one. And MisAnthropony's response? That's emotional manipulation for ya. Not quite unlike Doug when saying that anyone who likes Michael Bay's Transformers movies are adolescent idiots who are falling prey to Bay's penis pandering. Or anyone who happened to like Emma Watson as Belle in the Beauty and the Beast remake were nostalgia blinded just because they're familiar with her from Harry Potter. Or that time he made jokes at the expense of Happy Madison fans, even joking about blowing them up in his 8 Crazy Nights review. This feels even all the more hypocritical and insulting when coming from the same individual who made that video in light of the recent release of The Last Jedi, calling out the toxic Star Wars fans who harassed Kelly Marie Tran off the internet, and telling Star Wars viewers to hate the movie for the right reasons, not because of the actors who were just doing what was expected of them. You seem to have forgotten, MisAnthropony, that a crucial thing to do in this instance is to set the example that you want to see. The fact that the Walker brothers and Mike Michaud hurt and exploited several co-workers along with a bunch of other terrible things and refused to own up to their wrongdoings does not give you, MisAnthropony, the moral high ground to disparage the people who like Nostalgia Critic episodes. I don't care how much justice you think that you're bringing into the world because of it. If I'm not a fan of a movie or a specific trend of certain types of movies that are permeating the industry, I'm not going to say that the people who like them are idiots or are the cause of any sort of problem. And really, I don't care how popular the consensus is for how objectively terrible something like a movie is, you never ever insult anyone who does happen to like it, let alone the people who worked on it. I say this because I'm willing to accept the fact that anyone or anything that I like or dislike may say more about me than about the person or thing that I like or dislike. And don't even try to pull the "this instance doesn't apply on me" card, because it does. If you have to apply your behavior that you want to display, no matter what the circumstance. Otherwise, it's a double standard, even if it pertains to real people, not a piece of fictional media. Let me provide you with an example from my end. One of my DeviantArt friends, Power Loud Girl, aka Lexi, was a fan of Lily Orchard for a long time. Now, I want to make it clear that I am completely on board with everyone else's consensus that Lily Orchard is one of the worst persona figures on the internet. But I have no trouble with those who watch her and enjoy her content, provided that they don't follow examples of her behavior. Now, Lexi did say some things that did piss me off and even legit concerned me. But eventually, I asked her if she was aware of all the people that Lily had hurt, and Lex said that she wasn't aware. So I showed her one of Josh Scorcher's earlier videos where he explains all the ways Lily has hurt and lied about him and his friends. And it was there that Lex decided that she was no longer a fan of Lily Orchard. I did not show Lex the video to get her to stop watching Lily. She did that entirely of her own volition. I just wanted to inform Lex of all the harm that Lily's done and false information she's been spreading, just so that Lex is aware and mindful about what she says and agrees with Lily on. And speaking of Josh Scorcher's video, there is that one notable quote from one of Josh's friends, Alex Roshan, where he said, "I may not put up with everything I don't agree with on all the time, but if you're going to call someone else's beliefs ignorant, at least take the effort and fairness to recognize the possibility for ignorance and arrogance in yourself. I do my best to avoid making any judgments or harboring any grudges, even if it is something that is potentially hurtful. I try to avoid doing that, even if it's not something that's completely fictional, and something that pertains very much to reality. I have a day job at a gas station, part of which does involve selling cigarettes, which I hate doing at the best of times, because it disrupts me when I'm supposed to be pumping gas for as many as 6 other customers, and I hate giving products that intoxicate the smokers as well as everyone around them who is exposed to the secondhand smoke. But I have to accept the fact that it's not my place to tell them what they should or should not do with their lives. And I should not try to shame them for it, because the fact that they smoke does not make them a bad person. I have a friend on Facebook who's part of the community town that I live in, and I have a lot of other Facebook friends who have befriended him too. And here's the thing, he's a right-leaning defender of Trump. I don't side with him on it, but I don't disparage him for it either. The most that I would ever do is just remove some of his posts from my notification bar. He's a regular customer who shows a positive attitude when he comes in, and we wish the best for each other and their families. We never harbor any sort of underlying grudges or judge each other as people or make any accusations. Because I am a believer in one particular biblical phrase, judge and you will be judged. You will change no minds by showing any underlying contempt towards anyone, including using any dialogue framed as, you are the cause of this. Maybe other people watch something or listen to someone out of willingness to be open-minded. And believe it or not, being open-minded is not the same thing as being gullible. I admit that even as somebody who was once one of Mr. Enter's most loyal fans, I am no longer a fan of him, at least not of his animation reviews, and I've certainly reprimanded some of the things he said, both on DeviantArt and on YouTube, and it is quite possible that I will have more things to reprimand him for in the future, depending on what he turns out. But I never do it with the intent of attacking him, trying to smear his name, say bad things about those who watch him or edit for him, or get his fans to unsubscribe from him. I believe he has the right to make a living on the internet, that he has the right to defend himself against anyone who stalks or harasses him, even calling them out by name if he feels necessary, yes, that includes me, and that he has the right to make a career out of his Growing Around series and be happy and successful at it. I do everything in my power to respect Mr. Enter's rights as a person, certainly more than Doug Walker or Lily Orchard, because unlike either of them, I do believe Mr. Enter is always making the effort to better himself. But speaking of Mr. Enter, and no, I'm not going to bring up the rumors about how MisAnthropony might be some sort of Mr. Enter plagiarist. Enter once said that it is not your right to deny Channel Awesome fans the right to enjoy what brings them pleasure, and that you should not harass anyone who still watches them. You can't change what you earnestly like, and you should not feel bad about liking it, no matter who it's made by. Remember that a lot of great works and discoveries have been made by absolutely despicable people. But the worth of the works themselves to our society is still present and prominent, as is their influence on us as individuals. Need I remind us of the fact that the media that we've all grown up with, for all the special places that they hold in our hearts, like, say, Dumbo, they do contain things like racial stereotypes? Or of the actors and directors we loved who were revealed to be engaging in downright criminal behavior? Or horror story after horror story behind the scenes of several people who were abused and injured in the filmmaking process? That makes some upset out of fear that liking a certain something with some sort of controversy behind it makes them awful people. No, it doesn't. And I don't condone anyone who says it does. It all depends on which parts of it stick with you in the best way. And if people are going to keep going to Channel Awesome every week, I can understand that, just as I understand why Channel Awesome fans have stopped watching. If they can find some way to watch it without supporting the administration, that's good too. Do I think that Doug and Rob Walker's content is good, regardless of the Change the Channel incident? Not at all. Or at least not in more recent years. I began to lose interest in their content and eventually stopped watching it altogether even before the whole Change the Channel stuff surfaced. Because as a comedian, I thought his more recent stuff wasn't the least bit funny, and as a reviewer, his pretentious narcissism and tendency to get information on a movie completely inaccurate really started to show. But let me tell you something. 2015 was an overall horrible year for me. While everyone was complaining about how much 2016 sucked, and it's debatable if the subsequent years are any better, I was at my lowest point just the year before, so much in a catatonic state of self-loathing for a variety of reasons, namely regarding some of my old faults, to the point where I was seriously considering taking my own life. Then I watched Nostalgia Critic's Christmas with the Cranks review, which he capped off with the speech about the importance of being understanding of oneself. Yes, the speech feels all the more uncomfortable and false watching in hindsight knowing what kind of person he is now, but I still took his word to heart, and always trying to learn and get better helps me not to be constantly angry with myself all the time. Whether or not I could have gotten the word better from somebody else is up for debate, but the fact is that it did help me personally when I needed help, and that will always be a part of me. Does that make me a bad person? Well, I try hard not to follow the other worse examples of Doug's behavior, something that it seems very hard to say that others aren't doing. And that brings me to a further point that I'm sure I'm not the first one to bring up here. The internet needs to stop being used to start hate bandwagons. The ironic thing about you people who want to unleash all your hate onto something, be it a person or piece of fictional media, like this whole trend that Hollywood is relying too much on remakes and whatnot, is that for all your desire for someone or something to disappear and die, you are going to be the ones who are going to keep that person or thing alive and relevant the most. Now, I get the whole frustration towards being told, if you don't like it, don't watch it. Believe me, I've been there. And there are good reasons to hate that saying depending on the context. When the don't like, don't watch excuse is being used as a means to slap away anyone's criticisms instead of properly debunking them, it's an example of what's called the ergo decido fallacy. On the other hand, there are times when not watching something you don't like really is the best option. Because at the end of the day, some people just care about getting attention, be it positive or negative. As Oscar Wilde once said, the only thing worse than being talked about is not being talked about. I'm all for keeping the Change the Channel movement going, but only to make people aware about Channel Awesome's wrongdoings. It's obvious that Ms. Shaw and the Walkers aren't going to apologize for their scumminess, and people aren't going to stop watching NC videos for their own personal reasons. It's bad when Channel Awesome defenders try to deny what's being confirmed by everyone behind the set, but if people are just watching Nostalgia Critic for the Nostalgia Critic, they must be getting something good out of it personally. And it's not my place, nor anyone else's, to declare that that makes them stupid or awful people. All I can say for Channel Awesome, along with anybody or anything else that disgusts me, is that they will not have my support or attention, not even so much as click on their videos. Nothing less, and nothing more either.